Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for coming to our webinar on Polaris 6.6, 6.7 upgrades for technical services. Today I've got a pretty long agenda, a lot of things to cover. And if you have any questions, feel free to type the questions into the chat and I will get to the questions at the end of the webinar. So today I will be reviewing the features in Leap that will be the most useful for technical services. Today's agenda includes an overview of what you can and can't do in Leap with the 6.7 upgrade, including bibliographic records, item records, and serials check-in. Then for both the bibliographic records and item records, I will demonstrate useful features of the find tool, point out important features of the records, as well as creating record sets and bulk changes. Then I will spend some time demonstrating the features of serials check-in. So I will be reviewing a lot of information today that you may already be aware of if you've already reviewed the training materials for LEAP. But for those that have not had a lot of experience with LEAP, I think it will be useful to demonstrate all of the features of the bibliographic item and serials records so that you can become familiar with LEAP as it works as a whole and get a full picture of it. So after the session, you will be able to visit the e-learning courses and review some of the new documentation that I've created. I will give you the links to the documentation that I've created in the presentation after the session has ended. So I'd like to begin with a poll. So I'm going to launch a poll. My poll is, how much experience do you have with using LEAP? And I'll give you about 30 seconds to answer it. Waiting for a few more answers to come in. Okay, so I'm going to end the poll. Okay, great. So 45% of you have some experience with LEAP on the job. 17% have a lot of experience using LEAP on the job, and 31% have completed the training but don't use it on the job, and 7% have no experience with LEAP. Great. So for some of you, I hope this session will not be too boring for you since I will be reviewing some of the things that you already know, and hope that you will find this overview useful. So I think it's important to begin with discussing what you can and can't do in LEAP right now. So one of the issues with the 6.6 and 6.7 upgrades is that as Innovative adds new functions, they're adding them in an incomplete manner. So this means that a full technical services workflow is not possible for cataloging yet. And it's important to understand that what you can and can't do in LEAP will be different with the next upgrade too. There's going to be a lot of new features coming with 7.0. So right now with bibliographic records, you do have the capability of searching for records in OCLC and saving those records. However, you cannot deduplicate the records yet, and you cannot edit the MARC records from the bibliographic MARC records screen. So at this time, I recommend that it's important to continue to copy catalog using the client since there are certain features that are not available in Leap yet. However, you're welcome to play around with it and see how it works, which is why I'm doing the training session for it now. One thing that has been added to Leap are some of the bibliographic bulk change capabilities. So this includes the features that you would already be familiar with from the client that are on the tabs called non-mark, data fields, leader, and 008. However, it's still missing the 006 and 007 tabs, so those will not be added until the 7.0 update. Most of you are probably already familiar with the item record capabilities of Leap. So as of the 6.7 update, you can add new records with and without the item templates, edit item records fully, work with record sets, and it has all of the bulk change capabilities that the client has. However, you still cannot print labels, nor can you create new item templates. The addition of Serials Checkin is completely new with the 6.6 and 6.7 update, but there's still some things that are missing. So with this current version, you can check in a new issue, combine issues, edit the issue designation of combined issues, predict new issues, and delete an issue one at a time. However, you still cannot add new serial holding records, print labels, nor can you add a new issue like a special issue without predicting the issues first. You cannot edit the issue designation of issues that have not been combined, and you still cannot delete more than one issue at a time. So if you need to do any of these tasks, you will have to do them in the client. However, it still has a fairly useful workflow for just simply checking in a new issue as it arrives. So if you're interested in beginning to use the serials module for the first time, feel free to let me know at the help desk and we can schedule an appointment to talk about how you can start to migrate to the serials module in the client. So I do have this list of resources. I sent it to you in the agenda, but I will send it out to you again after the session is over. It's going to be in this presentation. I'm going to switch to Leap now and demonstrate some features. So we're going to start with some things that you are familiar with, as I said already, and provide an overview of some of the topics that you are already familiar with as I go. So for those that are unfamiliar with Leap, to access the Find tool, you can do so at the top of the screen by pressing Find without searching anything first. So we have 4 drop-down menus at the top. The first one is to access the database and make a selection for a specific database. The second one is for the search mode. We do have the option for doing Power Search and SQL Search in Leap already. The next drop-down menu is for the keyword field. And the fourth drop-down menu is for the type of keyword search. So if we take a look at this first drop-down menu again, you can see that there are now 2 different bibliographic record choices. The first one, bibliographic record, is for selecting or is for searching for the local database only. The second one is for remote databases and local databases at the same time. So I'm going to select that. One other useful feature to point out of this first drop-down menu is the star on the side allows you to set a default for your preference. So next to this search icon are three different icons that you can become familiar with. This new one here is like a cylinder. This allows you to access your database choices for remote databases. So our options here are the same as they are in the client, and you can check more than one at the time. So I'm going to demonstrate searching the local database and OCLC CCS BIBs, OCLC WorldCat at the same time, and then press apply to apply the databases. Once you've applied the databases, the cylinder icon turns green, so you know it's active. So this next icon that looks like a funnel allows you to select filters. One of the things that's really useful about searching in Leap is the ability to select more than one filter at a time, especially when searching for item records. So for example, if I want to search for a type of material and then add another one, you just press the plus key. And then you can choose as many filters as you like, which is really great because you can do that without doing a power search. Plus it has the drop-down menu for Boolean operators and not or. So if you wanted to add multiple types of materials into the search, for example, you could choose, say, a type of material of book, not ebook, to eliminate the ebook type of materials and just search for book. So I'm going to demonstrate a search so that we can point out some useful features of the results. And I'm going to search for marsupial frogs today. So when using the bibliographic record remote databases database search, you can see the type of database in this first column. It displays local for the local database and OCLC CCS BIBs for the OCLC database. It's fairly easy to identify which database you're looking at. However, one thing that is a bit problematic is this format field. Instead of displaying a user-friendly word, like just searching in the local database, it still only displays the numerical value. So here a 1 is book and 36 is ebooks. In the documentation that I've created for using this search feature, I have linked to a chart with the numerical equivalent of the format field so that you can identify it easily. So I'm going to open up a record. When opening up an OCLC record, you'll see that it is labeled as a new bibliographic record at the top. So I said before, you cannot edit the MARC record yet on the screen. That will be added to the 7.0 upgrade. However, you can still update display and pack and the owner, which you don't need to change because it should be cooperative computer services. And then press save to save it to the database as a final record. So as you can see, there's no way of deduplicating it yet. It does not save it as a provisional yet, just as a final record. So from here, once you save it, it's easy to add item records by pressing the local items tab and then new item, or the all items tab. You can also press the new item here. Got two drop-down menus to become familiar with. In the Actions drop-down menu, that's where you would place a hold. You can also create an item from this menu or add the bibliographic record to a record set. When you do create an item, it's very easy to do so by using the item template from this drop-down menu right here. And that way you can create an item without filling out the individual text boxes one at a time. So I'm going to also demonstrate here One thing that you're familiar with is using the links drop-down menu of the client, but here the links drop-down menu has less options. You just have the holds queue and pack, and you have to access the other items that would normally be in the links drop-down menu from these tabs, such as the item records or the record sets. If it were in a record set, you would see the list here, but you'd have to search for the record set by using the find tool to access it. Now I'm going to demonstrate the bulk change features. It's very easy to create a record set in Leap. By clicking on this new drop-down menu, you can see that it has page on record and record set. So after clicking on record set, you can choose the record type, bibliographic or item. So I'm going to choose bibliographic. And then you can simply add a name, note, and if you'd like to scan barcodes, you can do so from Leap to add the bibliographic record to the record set, or you can add it with the find tool. If I am going too fast, please do let me know and I can slow down or repeat something. So I'm going to now open up an existing record set that I've created. So within record sets, there are two different action menus. The first action menu allows you to access the bulk change feature. You can create the item record set from the bibliographic record set. You can also export a list from the record set. This exports as an Excel file and displays the columns as you see them on the screen. This is also where you would delete the record set. The second action menu here allows you to add items to a new record set, or bibliographic records in this case, to a new record set, or remove the selected items. So I'm going to show you our new bulk change features that we have here for the bibliographic record bulk change. So as you can see, we only have 4 tabs. We're still missing the 06 and 07 tabs. So for the non-mark field, you're probably pretty familiar with this option. It allows you to check or uncheck display and pack, or save provisional records as final. So I'm going to make some random selections here to demonstrate this bulk change feature. The data fields are the same as what they are in the client. You can insert new tags, insert new subfields, delete new tags and subfields, change tags number, change the specific subfield code, correct non-filing indicators. So I'm just going to demonstrate briefly inserting a new subfield into an existing tag. So if you heard our discussion with the acquisitions group about unprocessed 970s, I'm going to demonstrate adding a subfield 9 into a unprocessed 970. So in the tag number, I would add the 970 field. One thing that is different here from the client is that in the client, you would normally see checkboxes for these indicators as the default, but here they're unchecked as a default. You only need to check them if you want to use a specific indicator. The unchecked state is using the star like a wildcard. So you don't need to check them at all if you don't want to specify the specific indicator. So I'm going to add my subfield into the subfield box, and we'll be adding a process note. I'm not going to type the full note, just the word processed. So this is a two-step process for adding the change to the queue. First, you press the return icon and then add to the change queue. Both the leader and 008 tags are fairly easy to use, and if you're familiar with the client, this will look familiar to you. You have to first change or choose from the drop-down menu the value that is existing in the record, or you can choose all values or all invalid values, and then select the value that you would like to change the record to. So with the 008 field, you need to select the type of material first, and then select the value that exists in the record first, and then in the second drop-down menu, you would select the new value. So you can add as many changes to your bulk change queue at a time as you'd like. And then when you're ready, press Update Bibs. So you'll see a summary of changes that appear. If you need to make a change to the list before you continue, you can press Cancel and go back and change them. And when you're ready to run the bulk change, you can press Continue. So I'm going to cancel some of these so the bulk change doesn't take too long. And press Delete there, and then press Update. So the bulk change has now been added to the queue. And after the bulk change has been completed, a report is generated. So to access the queue, you need to click on the Utilities drop-down menu and then Cataloging Processing. So this will show all of the record sets that are in the queue, and the status will be pending if it has not been completed yet, and it will be completed once it's done. You can open up a report by double-clicking on the report on the record set name. It opens it up as a PDF file. And we'll describe the changes made in this statistics section. So as I go along, if you have any questions, feel free to add them to the chat, or if you think I'm going too fast, again, let me know, and I can slow down and demonstrate something again. So that was the bibliographic records, and now I'm going to demonstrate some useful features of item records. So I'm going to now open up this Find tool and run a search for item records. So if you frequently search for item records, you can check this or select the star on the side to save item records as your default. And there's another star here next to the search icon. So one thing that could be potentially useful for you is to select filters and then use that star to save those filters as your default filters, such as assign branch. So I'm going to demonstrate a search today. So one of the useful things, again, about this is that you can use multiple filters at a time in Leap, which is not as easy in the client without doing a power search. So I've started with assign branch, And I'm going to choose a statistical class of mystery. And I'm even going to add another one, a third filter for type of material, and look for a book and apply. So again, if you wanted to make those your default, you can save that specific set of filters as your default and press save. So when you come back to it the next time, those filters will be your default and they will be set up already. So I'm going to search for a mystery. Nope, that one didn't work. I'll just search for mystery. Maybe it needs to revert back to the system default search settings. Let's see. Okay, there we go. I'll just open up the first record here. So one of the things that's important to point out, I think, about the item records is that if you are used to using item records in the client, the views that you have are different than in Leap. So there are a lot more tabs here in Leap, and the data is spread out to different tabs than what you're used to using in the client. So I think it's important to review where the data is so that you can easily find it. So on this first tab, we have details. That's only the barcode, location information, shelf location, collection, price. Circulation statistics are on the circulation tab. But if you're looking for the material type, statistical code, loan period, find code, and call number, for example, those are on the controls tab. This is also where you will find your hold limits. So then there's the notes and blocks tab, which is just notes and blocks. There's a history tab for circulation history. Statistics. The record sets tab lists the record sets. And also the tab for notices and source and donor. So at the top of this item record, there are two drop-down menus. And actions, you can check in the record, place the hold, copy a record to create a new item record, and add it to a record set. In the links, you only have access to the holds queue. So if you need to access what you would normally find in a links drop-down menu in the client, you'll find the bibliographic control number linked to the record here by the bib control number field, and the list of record sets on the record sets tab. So hopefully that will be updated with the 7.0 update so that it will have easier access to more links as more features are added. So now I'm going to demonstrate some features of item record sets. So again, if you were to want to create a record set, you can do so from the new drop-down menu at the top. Click on record set and choose item. So I'm going to label this example. So as I demonstrated with the bibliographic record set, you can scan the barcode to add items to your record set here, or you can use the find tool. But one of the more useful features about record sets in Leap is that under this second actions drop-down menu, you can add the barcodes from a text file, so that if someone were to just give you a list of barcodes and not create the record set already, you'd be able to use that file to create a record set quicker. So I'm going to select a file I have. So again, this needs to be a text file and just have the list of barcodes. So you can't have a heading like barcode at the top, just the list of numbers, and then press add from file. So that quickly added all of my barcodes to this record set, and then you can press save. So in this top actions drop-down menu, we have our link to the bulk change screen. You can also create the bibliographic record set from the item record set, or press delete to delete the record set. You can do ad hoc bulk changes in Leap. So if you were to select these two titles to do an ad hoc bulk change, under this second actions drop-down menu is ad hoc bulk change. You can do the bulk change of those two items only, as well as also have access to add those two to a different record set or remove them. Gary also commented that you can use an Excel file with column headings too when you're adding the file of barcodes to create a record set. So I'm going to demonstrate the bulk change. This will look just like the bulk change features of the client. It has the same tabs as it does in the client. So on the location tab, you have the owning branch and inside branch, shelf location, collection, and home branch. The circulation tab is for circulation status, fine codes, material type, loan period, holdable settings, and circulation settings. So I'm going to select some as I go along so I can demonstrate the report features after I run this. So I'm just going to check do not float briefly so it runs something. And then there's the call number tab, which does allow you to change the different fields of the call number. The notes and blocks tab allows you to add notes. One thing that is useful to this is that if you have existing notes in the record already, you could actually choose to append or prepend the existing notes. You don't have to replace them. So I think it's a neat thing to point out that if you just want to add something else to the note field, you can do so without replacing it. And then on the miscellaneous tab, you can actually change the bibliographic control numbers. That's one I did recently when there was a accidental merge that I fixed. I was able to change the bibliographic control number of the item records by using this option on the miscellaneous tab. And also on this tab, it has display and pack. So might be on a tab that you would not necessarily expect it to be on, since it's on the last tab but not the first tab. So I thought I would just point that out. You can also add barcodes to the records here. So to run the bulk change, I can press update items and then press continue. So one thing that's useful about doing the bulk change for item records in Leap is that you don't have to navigate to a specific location to find your report. The report downloads right away as a text file. So that makes it a bit easier to make sure that everything has been completed properly and check for errors. Okay, so next, I'm going to cover serials check-in. So this is completely new in LEAP for 6.6 and 6.7. You may have already reviewed some of the materials already in the new serials course. So I'm just going to demonstrate that again as a recap and allow you to ask any questions that you have after I'm done. So under this utilities drop-down menu, you can access the find tool by clicking on serials check-in. One thing about this that I should point out is that the find tool says you're searching for serial holdings record, but what you're actually opening is the serials check-in record and not the serial holdings record. I'm going to open up my record from the demonstration that I had already used in the course. Oh, but one thing I do want to point out about the filters that might make it a bit more difficult is that there is no destination filter yet for serial holdings records. So you may end up having to look for your specific record among 28 other records, or more than 28 records. So hopefully that will be added in the future, but we haven't heard anything about that yet. So this opens the serials check-in record. One thing you can do is edit the non-public notes and non-public warning notes on the screen. For those that do check in the serials, it is a fairly easy workflow, but unfortunately you cannot print the label yet from the screen. So hopefully that will be added soon. But unfortunately, it was not in the list of things added for the 7.0 update. So I think it will be coming later than 7.0 and will not be ready by June. So to check in a record, it's fairly easy. You select the issue to check in and then press check in. After that, if your serial holdings records are set up to create the item and add the barcode, you will need to add a barcode and then press continue. This adds the new item record as well. So with this issue part status drop-down menu, you can filter to see all of the received issues, or you can also filter to view any of the other statuses like pending claim, claims, not available. I'm going to go back to not received. You can easily also combine the issues before checking them in by selecting two issues, then press combine. So here you can edit this designation if you'd like to edit it. This is the only location where you can actually edit the designation in LEAP right now when you combine the issues. So if you have other editing to do, you need to do that in the client still. You can also add the public notes and change the expected arrival date, and then press continue. So after combining the issues, you still need to check it in by selecting the combined issue and then pressing check-in. So I'm going to now add a barcode and press continue to create the item record. So one thing that you can do in LEAP is to delete issues if you need to withdraw issues. When you delete issues in LEAP, it functions the same as it does in the client. So as you delete an issue, it also deletes the item record that's attached to it. So You do not want to go to the item record first and delete that. You can start here and just delete the issue. So when you select a received issue, it allows you to undo the check-in or delete the issue. I'm going to just delete this issue for now, but unfortunately, you cannot select multiple issues to delete and actually delete them. It will gray out the delete button. So you have to delete them one at a time in Leap, which is a bit annoying for those that have multiple issues to delete at a time. You still need to do that in the client. One other important thing to point out is that you can predict issues in Leap. This is under the Actions drop-down menu, Predict Issues Parts. This will allow you to see the issues that can be predicted for the number of issues that's set up in the serials holding record. Press Continue, adds the new issues to the record. But as I said, unfortunately, you still cannot just create a new issue, say if you have a special issue within Leap, unless you were to predict issues that had a special issue already using the pattern. So you do still have to go back to Leap to create that special issue. So hopefully those new features will be available in the 7.0 update. But we're not quite sure which features will come in the 7.0 update or not. So we are still waiting for that information. So this update is a good example of what happened where only certain features of serial check-in were added with the 6.6 update, then they added more with the 6.7 update. So it's hard to predict which features will actually be coming when, because they told us copy cataloging was coming with the 6.7 update, but there's still some important features that obviously haven't been added, so we can't really do copy cataloging yet in Leap. Okay, so I have one more poll that I wanted to end with before we take any questions. My next poll is, how excited are you at the idea of using Leap for technical services in the future? So I'm going to give you about 30 seconds to answer. Okay, so I'm going to end the poll and share it. The results are quite interesting. So 37% of you said, I'm not excited at all. I want to continue using Leap. Only 27% are slightly excited. 27% are excited and 10% are very excited. Very interesting results today. I wasn't sure how excited everyone would be about switching to Leap or how many people would be interested in that migration in the future. So it's really great to see what your opinions are. So I now have plenty of time to answer any questions that you have or go back and demonstrate something again. Feel free to unmute yourself or type questions in chat. Okay, one question came in. When bringing in a record from OCLC, where are we able to add the 099? That's a great question. So right now with Leap, you cannot edit the bibliographic record, and it does not have an import profile with Leap yet. So you still need to continue using the client for importing your on order records and editing the bibliographic record until a future update. So hopefully the 7.0 update should have enough features added that you will be able to edit the MARC record and use an import profile, but we're still waiting for more information on that. Our next question is, are they going to change the format column numbers from numbers to text in the future update? I unfortunately don't have that information yet. I can make that suggestion. It looks like that in the product roadmap, we're allowed to like add suggestions to some of the boxes there. So I can maybe add that in one of the boxes for the 7.0 update for copy cataloging. Okay, well, feel free to continue to send questions in the chat. I just wanted to review again my slide with the training resources. Just wanted to point out that at the training portal, I did mention this previously in the CAM meeting, we have this section for training services in LEAP. So some of these, if you have already done the LEAP training, are the same as the LEAP training. We have the getting started with Polaris and LEAP. LEAP searching has been added. So that does not include SQL searching yet. It just has basic searching in the find tool using LEAP defaults, but it does have searching for bibliographic records and item records, as well as power searching. But Kathleen should be adding SQL searching soon. There's also the record sets in LEAP, which mostly includes examples for item bulk changes. We're not going to add a section for bibliographic bulk changes until they have completely added all the tabs, because the images will change soon. And we have serials in LEAP, which just has the serials check-in, demonstration, and a guided activity. So I have created 2 new documents. You can also add, you can get to these from the learning portal as well. So the link will be in this documentation. One is the remote searching in LEAP, and the other is bibliographic bulk changes in LEAP. So from the learning, oh, I accidentally unshared my screen. 1 second. So from the learning portal, under Polaris Procedures, Technical Services, I've added 2 more documents. So under bibliographic records is searching remote databases in LEAP. And this will link to a PDF file. with instructions on remote searches in Leap. And the other one is bibliographic bulk change in Leap. So that will be added here. I think I still have to add that one, but I will add that by the end of the day so that you can find it from this section. I saw another chat come in, but it's not opening the chat screen. 1 second. Oh, there we go. The question is, do you have an idea when acquisitions will be fully transitioning into Leap? It's a great question. We do not have information about anything other than the 7.0 update. So what we do know is that the acquisitions API will be added to the 7.0 update in June. So what that will look like, if you wait 1 second, I can open up a slide from the acquisitions meeting so that I can provide you with a slide to look at. And I will send you a link to the presentation so that everyone can have access to it. So if you're unfamiliar with what APIs are, it stands for Application Programming Interface. This allows software programs to send data back and forth between each other. So what this will look like is that behind the scenes, CCS will add information that will allow Polaris to communicate with vendors. And this will support the ability for third-party vendors to pass purchase order data directly to Polaris, and then it will be able to automatically create a PO. So this is even more efficient and better than EDI ordering. So this automates the acquisition workflow and reduces staff time spent creating purchase orders even more than EDI does. This is expected to be added in June, but it may take a bit longer for vendors to add the interface to their end. So vendors will need to develop an interface, but we don't know when this will be actually completed, if they started working on it simultaneously with Polaris, or if they're not going to work on it until after the 7.0 update. But one of the issues that I think is important to be aware of is that vendors may charge to use their API to send the order information to Polaris. I previously did work for a vendor that had this capability, and they did charge about $1,500 to use it per year. So I'm not sure what your vendors will charge or if they'll charge. So once we hear that this update is available, you will all want to communicate with your vendors to find out if they're ready to use the API and if they charge to use it. So do you have another question? Will the API be optional? And can we still use EDI ordering? Yes, the API is completely optional, just as using any of the modules are optional. You can continue to use EDI ordering. We do not want to force you to use the API, especially if the vendors are charging you extra to use that. but it can be very useful to use it if you want to streamline your workflow a bit more. And you still will be able to use EDI ordering, ASN, whichever works best for you. And for those who are interested in beginning to use acquisitions workflow for the first time, feel free to make an appointment with me and we can discuss how to start to migrate to the acquisitions module. This could be a good time for you if you do want to streamline your acquisitions workflow. Using the API is one way to do that, and it will make the creation of purchase orders much more easier than it would if you were using EDI or manually adding them. So all really great questions. Are there any other questions? So after this session has ended, I will be sending you the presentation and links to the documents, as well as a survey to fill out. We'd love to hear about your opinions of today's webinar so that we can continue to improve the quality of our webinars for the future. If you have any other questions, feel free to contact me at the help desk. And since we have no more questions that are coming in, I will be ending the webinar.